Tonight we continue our series of pre-election interviews by turning to the race for City Councilor in District 7. The district includes most of Roxbury, along with parts of Dorchester, the South End, and the Fenway. Our guest is the incumbent running in the preliminary election September 8th. We'd like to welcome Tito Jackson. Thank you very much for being with us, Councilor.
Chris, thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about what you've been through already in the council, and is there anything there that you can say if people ask you, what is it about being a city council? What's the big deal here? What makes you feel satisfied with this?
Yeah. So recently we've done, I don't know if you heard about this thing called the Boston Olympics. I don't know if you heard about
it. It seems like a long time ago now.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
So, at a point in that conversation, when the Boston 2024 Olympic Committee did not want to share with the council the full bid document, the financials as well as the political support chapters, I pushed them. I demanded that they share it, and they refused the demand that I put forward. And Chris, I'm proud to say that I moved forward with issuing a subpoena on that documentation that put the pressure needed to open up those books.
It was an intriguing episode because the documents themselves might not have been too interesting. There was even a Globe columnist who said the whole thing was inane. But on the other hand, with all of these counselors lining up on your side in this, what was the effect of that?
The effect of it was it pressured the Boston 2024 Olympic Committee the day after their debate to actually release the documents. And what, I disagree with the Globe columnist. What we saw was over $400 million gap of your money, of the people's money in the city of Boston. The Brattle report went on to actually look at and explore the bid 2.0, which showed that there was a $3 billion gap. And again, we don't do, when we get into projects that are billions, Chris, in Boston, we don't do too well at guessing, kind of like the Big Dig. And so when it comes down to it, this is your money for an event that lasts 1 month. And so when we think about what does that mean for schools? What does that mean for infrastructure? What does that mean for public safety? And so I'm very proud of my record there. I'm proud of my record even in the university that we sit in right now. The president of this university chose to thumb his finger at the council and not come. And we actually used I used my subpoena power as the education chair to bring him there to have a conversation about what colleges and universities actually do for the city of Boston. How, are they hiring Boston residents? And are they doing business with Boston-based businesses? And so I feel like I have a record of holding some of the most powerful institutions and people to account. In addition, fighting for development without displacement in our neighborhoods and communities, standing with organizations like City Life to save people's homes and also to provide more affordable housing. And then also working with the Boston Public Schools to close the achievement gap, as well as open the doors of opportunity for more teachers of color. And to be in line with the Gary decision.
No, the university you were talking about does pretty well with payments in lieu of taxes compared to the other places around here. But one thing that seems to be in common among a lot of these colleges, and I think it disturbs you, is the racial gap between the population in the city and what we see in these great institutions, world-class institutions.
Yeah, again, you're right. Boston University does well in pilot, but let's look at the number of students that they actually have in the population. 3% of the students at Boston University are black kids. 37 professors are black, 36 are Latino out of 2,000 professors. And again, BU is par for the course when it comes to what's happening in the city. So we want, in addition to the great students that they draw here, we want the colleges and universities to be intimately involved with the economic development of our city as well as our region. And purchasing, I want to see Boston University. I want to see UMass. I want to see all of the colleges of the Fenway. I want you to buy from folks who make stuff in the city of Boston. I want you to hire people who live in the city of Boston because we have some awesome folks there. You asked me a really interesting question earlier, though, about what's cool about this job, like what makes you really dig the job. What I think and I love most about the job, last year I got to give out 4,000 turkeys with the nonprofit, the Tito Fund that I started, and this year we got to give out 600 backpacks. That feels great. But the thing that makes me feel the best is the first time that I got someone a job. I had placed a call, opened that door of opportunity for him to get a job. I hadn't actually met the guy, but he walked up to me at a cookout and said, "Hey, are you Tito?" I was like, "Yeah, how you doing?" And he said, "Man, you got me a job, and it helped my family." And so that, to me, is one of the things that helped me feel good. And then secondly, just being in the presence of young people. And for them to ask you questions about your job and how I got here and some of the difficulties that I had, and for them to walk away feeling like they can do it. And for me, that's the best part of my job.
Well, one thing that nobody feels good about right now is the way things are going with homicides in Roxbury's area B2. I'm sure people say, what have you been doing about that? Or what can be done if you're a counselor?
So I think putting forward bold policy like I've put forward. I put forward the Richmond program, which is a program out of Richmond, California. The Boston Herald didn't like it too much. They actually beat me up some on it. But it's a really bold step. And what it would do is it would identify the young men who are most likely to shoot or be shot in the next year. It builds an 18-month partnership with those young men and actually gives them a stipend to begin to work on workforce development and training, as well as school, as people ease out of the life that they were in. It gives them wraparound services, and it also gives them life mapping and a trajectory. Understand, we're talking about 150 to 300 young men who are causing the homicide rate. But for me, I actually think the homicide rate is a misnomer. I think we need to look at the number of shootings that actually occur. And when we look at shootings that have occurred in the city of Boston this year, we're up 40%. So we need to get to the source of this, not simply deal with the symptoms of this. We have young men who have generational unemployment, who've never worked. We have to reach them. And then we also have to stem the group of individuals who are pre-dropouts, who are missing lots of school, as well as the individuals who are actually dropping out. And we lose about 1,000 young people each year in the city of Boston, and we all have to own that.
I'm sure you've heard from plenty of people who've talked about the cost of housing, gentrification, whatever you want to call it, and it's not just even Dudley Square. We're talking about even into Grove Hall now. Yeah. What's the best thing the city can do about this?
The best thing the city can do, and I took intro to economics, Chris, so I'm not an economist, but what I do know is that we have a scarce resource called housing. And we have a huge demand in the city of Boston for that resource. The only way to actually flatten that out is to build a lot more housing, and a lot more housing, not only for luxury, but we need middle income housing, but we also need affordable housing for individuals as well as families. In Dudley Square, there's a proposal to build a 25-story building with restaurants as well as some lifestyle stores there. Looking forward to supporting that project as well as more projects like that. We actually need several thousand. The mayor's plan is 53,000 more units, but I would say that we need additional. In that plan, I think we could go even a little bit further when it comes to affordable units in the housing plan for the city of Boston.
Should there be some kind of stronger protections for tenants?
I definitely think there should be stronger protections for tenants. I think no-fault evictions are an issue in the city of Boston. I've been able to work with City Life Vita Urbana to work with and actually come up with a MOU with an organization called City Realty around their practices. People who have a voucher sometimes actually get charged even over and above what they can afford in their voucher. These folks, the corporate landlord, was actually willing to come to the table with the community and come up with a solution in that situation. So I look forward to rolling my sleeves up with that. The other piece that we could do is we could actually work on what DS&I has worked on, which is actually looking at land trusts and how we control the actual costs of land. In Roxbury, what we will be doing is actually coming up with an updated Roxbury strategic master plan and looking at the 1.7 million square feet of undeveloped land and having the community come to the table and determine what we want to do with it, in housing, in economic development, in education. And we also have brought on a partner with Caesar McDowell from MIT and his class, who we're going to be working with for the second semester in a row.